Hello and welcome to the Global Electronics Report. It's Friday, August 5th, 11 o'clock here in Florida, and my name is Trevor Galbraith. The big story this week was the acquisition of the Chinese dispensing company Axon Automation by Mycronic, the Swedish manufacturer of pick-and-place machines and, of course, the My600 printer. I spoke with Robert Gautner, the general manager of Mycronic SMT division, and I began by asking him the reasons behind the acquisition.
Yes, first of all, we like the company very much, what we saw, and it's a very young company. They started out in 2008 and has come in a very short time very far and have made a big impact and inroad into the China SMT market with their dispensing equipment primarily. So it's a young company, as I said. We also found a very rich and wide product portfolio that they have, ranging from tabletops all the way up to inline systems, smartly designed and pretty sophisticated technology, actually, and including several different levels of accessories and valves that goes to the dispensing systems. Yes,
there's a large market share in China, but a limited footprint outside mainland China. I asked Robert if he planned to promote the brand across the United States and Europe.
Yes, we certainly think so, and this was one of the sort of synergies that were mutual, for interest from both companies. And let me start from the Mycronic side. We've had the jet printer, the My600 jet printer, for a very long period of time, or the 500 initially, and then 600 2 years ago we launched that. But it has been dedicated for solder-paste jet printing and jetting. And just recently we launched it and introduced the technology for a general dispensing purposes back in 2015 at Productronica. And now that product is available with a dispensing head. And of course, with that first product we launched, we have a much wider ambition to go into the dispensing market with a broader product portfolio based on the My600 platform first and foremost. Mm-hmm. So from that perspective, the acquisition of Axon is a really nice fit because we overnight basically get access to a complete product line and applicators and so on. So we are now covering everything from tabletop up all the way up to solder-paste jet printing on the high end of level of sophistication, perhaps. And then, Axon in itself were, at the time when we started to talk to them, also very interested to launch their products internationally outside of China. Mm-hmm. And of course, with our presence already in place in Europe and US and Japan, Korea, we could obviously shortcut that journey and take the products much faster out to the market to outside China, basically. So that is, of course, part of the strategy. Yeah.
Mycronic's just come off the most successful 6-month period in the company's history. I asked Robert if this latest acquisition was part of an ongoing strategy to expand through acquisition.
Actually, the second acquisition we do this year, even though the first one where we acquired our partner for the intelligent storage solution, the storage towers, Royotech was acquired in the first quarter. So that is another example of where we are expanding our reach and portfolio. And in this case, in the case of Royotech, we already were marketing that product, of course, in our channels worldwide since 2009. But nonetheless, it is a good way for us to secure long-term business, not only by collaboration, but also to have control of the IP from that perspective. And with that, you also control your own destiny in terms of profitability, growth, etc. So when we look ahead, I think that now we're coming into very sensitive areas for us strategically, what we can say and not. But there's no secret that to the market we have communicated a growth strategy which has been quite ambitious, and we have also said that even though the growth will come organically, we don't believe we can take us all the way to our targets with only organic growth. We need to complement our growth journey by selected acquisitions and so on. Mm-hmm. And as you started out our conversation, Trevor, yes, we have a very, very strong balance sheet, so we are ready to acquire more companies if we come across them and they have a strategic fit and a strategic rationale for us. Who knows what will be the next target and acquisition that we will be able to announce, but we are certainly active and looking for more opportunities.
Well, we'll certainly be watching with interest, Robert. I want to thank you for joining us today and wish you every success with your latest acquisition of Axon Automation. You can read the full transcript of this interview in the September issue of Global SMT and Packaging. I'm now joined by my friend and colleague and chairman of the Smart Group, Keith Bryant. Nice to see you, Keith. Are you there?
Yes, Trevor, I'm here.
Okay. An interesting acquisition, that. Of course, that's going to put Mycronic right in the center of the dispensing business. I mean, the My600 was used essentially for NPI applications and R&D. But this acquisition of Axon is going to take them right into the mainstream dispensing business.
Yes, both technically and commercially, it's a very, very astute move. And I have to say, as you said, it's perfect synergy between the two businesses, and they're going to very quickly become bigger than the sum is going to become bigger than the whole of the two parts, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I mean, Axon's got really virtually no footprint in Europe or the US at the moment. So that's going to be interesting to watch. Now, this seems to be part of a strategy, obviously, by Mycronic to expand through acquisition. So I'm curious to wonder what their next target might be. I mean, now that they've got printing, they've got storage, they've got dispensing. Maybe they're going to maybe want to measure the deposits. Do you think maybe an inspection company might be the next target?
It may possibly be, but at the moment their acquisitions and their growth strategy has been very focused. I mean, when the My500 was launched, it fitted beautifully into a niche in the market, and they've exploited that niche very well. And with stencils getting thinner and people needing to put large and small deposits on the same board, and also the advantages it gives you in terms of speed to get product with NPI, it was a tremendously good move. And I think by adding more dispensing technology there, that they have a technology advantage, but also they have a huge commercial link now. If they handle this properly, it's going to give them a very strong footprint into the China market very quickly, and it's going to give them a very strong product to sell into the rest of the world.
Yeah, certainly a very interesting acquisition. Now, I wanted to ask you, there's been a couple of developments in the UK this last week, not least of which has been a drop in interest rates. Can you give us an update there?
Yeah, I mean, the interest rate dropping from 0.5% to 0.25% sounds like from a small amount to a slightly smaller amount. But when you realize it's 50%, then when that follows through to interest on people who are looking to borrow money to buy new equipment and things, then it makes a substantial difference.
Right.
And what we've seen in the last couple of days is people who were sitting on orders because of the worry about Brexit and the insecurity have now actually started to release those orders to the equipment manufacturers within electronics. So,
Yes.
that's really good news.
Yeah, that is good news. And I think, looking ahead later in the year when the 15% corporation tax actually comes into law, then that's going to make the manufacturing industry in the UK quite compelling.
Yes, people are already looking at increasing their footprint if they have manufacturing in the UK. Multinational companies that were a little bit worried because they were concerned that if they carried on manufacturing in the UK, there were going to be a lot of problems. These guys seem to have settled down now. I mean, Nissan, they make about 500,000 cars in Sunderland a year, employ 6,700 people. They came out with a statement this week basically saying that, okay, we were a bit nervous before because of Brexit, but we're very calm now. We see the futures in the UK. We have investment plans to grow the facility that we have there, and we have no plans to move it. So a lot of tier 1, 2, and 3 electronics suppliers for these guys were breathing a big sigh of relief this week.
Right. Okay. Well, that's certainly encouraging news on the manufacturing front. I hope it keeps up for the banking sector as well. I've been noticing just this morning a few announcements in Hong Kong about banks pulling back from the China market a bit.
Yeah, and I can understand that to an extent because China is going through a lot of changes, and some people would say an evolution at the moment. And there's always a worry with China where they can nationalize things and create barriers to inward investment and all of these things. And that's not the same picture here in the UK. The message that the government have started to give out now is very much an open for business one. Right. And we're not seeing the large pension funds and the banks actually decreasing what they do. Some of them are now saying, okay, because the pound is lower, the interest rates are lower, the corporation tax is going to help us, maybe we're going to actually inwardly invest more. Right. And we're starting to see that from the electronics manufacturing sector as well globally. They're saying, the UK is a better place for business than it was 6 months ago.
Interesting stuff. Okay, well, thank you for joining us again this morning, Keith. I think the next time we're going to catch up with you is going to be in a couple of weeks. You're off to Semicon Taiwan. So safe travels, and thanks for taking part.
Thank you very much as always, Trevor, and I'll speak to you soon.
Okay, thank you. All right, Optimal Plus have just released their latest version 6.5 of their successful software suite, specifically targeted at the electronics manufacturing industry. I asked David Park, the company's marketing director, what made it unique.
And what makes us uniquely suited for electronics manufacturing is that we are the only software solutions company in the marketplace that provides an end-to-end solution for big data analytics. And what is differentiating us from other companies is that we don't only provide the big data analytics, we also provide the data collection and the data governance directly from the test equipment that is used on the manufacturing floor for electronics. Okay. So we collect the data directly off the testers, we clean it, we augment the data as necessary, as dictated by the customer, and then we do the analytics on that data in real time. We have an automated rules engine that runs 24/7. The data typically appears at the customer within minutes of the completion of test. And then, because of our data infrastructure for the data collection, we are also able to drive actions back into the supply chain when we find issues in manufacturing operations.
Of course, the collection and measurement of data needs to take place as far upstream in the manufacturing process as possible. Take a listen to this. To get actual predictive testing working in real time, you really have to do that work before it goes to the oven.
Absolutely correct, and that is one of the big things that we do is we provide access to real-time or near real-time data for the analytics. Mm-hmm. So part of our data infrastructure that is essential to our solution is that we take control of managing that data from the point it's generated on the tester mm-hmm. to the analytics to driving the action, and this is typically done within the order of minutes, which is what has to happen, as you said, before the material moves to the next step in the manufacturing process and the opportunity to rectify a situation has passed.
Another unique feature of Optimal Plus 6.5 is called Data Feed Forward. David Park explains.
There's actually a capability we have that we call Data Feed Forward that is used by our customers in the automotive space. And the example specifically for Data Feed Forward is to pluck bad devices from good populations. And this sounds like an oxymoron, but I'll give you a brief explanation. The concept of data feed forward, when you collect every piece of data from manufacturing, you can have a device that's sitting in final test. Yeah. And that device it is within the upper and lower spec limit, so it's considered a good part. What we enable customers to do is while that device is sitting on the tester for the 0.2 of a second that it's sitting there, we can go out to our database that has all the previous test information stored for that device, and we can recall a prior test that also was considered good. And we have customers who have determined that if there is enough of a parametric drift in a result from a test, it is an indication that device has a high probability of infant mortality. It's a good device, it passed the test twice, but if the drift between the measurements is too great, they know that is a very high likelihood of coming back as an RMA or a recall down the road. So the customer wants to kill it. Right. So they don't have a test that proves it's bad. It's only when you can compare test A to test B, both of which are good, that says, oh, the variation between these two tests is so great, I want to kill this part.
The full version of this interview will be available on Global SMT TV in the next couple of days in the Global Electronics Report section. In other news, Alpha Assembly Solutions has released Alpha SMCX Plus 07. It's a silver-free cored solder wire in a fast wetting solution with clear residues that is cost-effective for medium to lower-end assemblies and is LED capable. It provides low spatter and fumes and also has excellent soldering performance even at 370 degrees C. Transparent electronic devices are present in today's thin film displays, solar cells and touchscreens. The future will bring flexible versions of such devices. The production acquires printable materials that are transparent and remain highly conductive even when deformed. Researchers at INM Leibniz Institute for New Materials have combined a new self-assembling nano-ink with an imprint process to create flexible conductive grids with a resolution below 1 micrometer. Metcal announced that they've appointed Neil Edwards as the regional sales manager for the UK, Ireland and Eastern Europe. An industry veteran, Edwards brings more than 33 years of experience within the electronics industry, including a spell in the Formula One environment with McLaren Applied Technologies. That's it for this week. Check back with me next week for more top stories from around the electronics world.